This clip demonstrates the options available at the user level to design forms which will allow you to work more efficiently. Let's demonstrate the use of Priority's form design tools by designing the sales orders form. Before we begin, let's increase the font size by placing the cursor in one of the form columns, selecting the Change Font Size option from the upper design menu, and choosing the desired font size. This option can also be accessed by right-clicking within the form column. Note that forms have two different display formats, which you can toggle between at the touch of a button. The Sales Orders form opens in full record display mode, where you can only see one record at a time. Press F4 to move to multi-record display mode, which enables you to view several records simultaneously. For instance, you can retrieve and review an entire batch of sales orders that were recorded for a particular customer or date. The various design options are defined separately for each display format. We'll start our design in full record display mode. This display mode makes it easier to access all form fields, which are arranged within tabs, and is particularly useful when recording a new order. Click on the Design menu located on the top menu bar and select Organize Fields. The window that you see includes all tabs currently defined in the form. The core fields, which continue to be displayed whenever you change tabs, appear under the Main Columns tab. A variety of options are available when you right-click on a tab or a field. Let's start by hiding a single field in a tab. First, we'll open the Shipment tab so we can see the fields included there. We can now right-click the Storage Zone column and select Hide. The field moves to the end of the list and has a large red X next to it, indicating that it will be hidden. Click OK and the Storage Zone column disappears from the screen. Let's go back to the Design window and hide the entire Shipment tab in the same way. The tab moves to the end of the list and has a large red X next to it, indicating that it will be hidden. Click OK and the Shipment tab disappears from the screen. To restore it, go back to the Design window and click Restore Defaults, which returns you to the original form design. We can also rearrange fields and tabs in the form by clicking on the buttons to the right. Let's say, for instance, that we want the Scheduling tab to appear second in the list of tabs and that we also want to move its fields around. First, we can move the Scheduling tab and click on the up arrow as many times as needed, or we can click on the top arrow to move this tab to the first position right after the main columns and then move it down with the down arrow. Once the tab is positioned where we want it, we can also open it by clicking on the triangle to the left. Not only can we change the order of fields using the up and down arrows, just like we did for tabs, but we can also move a field to another tab. To move the Assigned To field from the Scheduling tab to the group of main columns, we right-click it and select Move To. From the list of the Form tabs, we'll select Main Columns and then click OK. As you can see, the field has been moved. Now let's look at the Price tab. Notice it has two blocks of fields, one beginning with the total before discount and another beginning with the purchase price. How do we move the purchase price to the end of the first block so that the second set starts with profit? Let's reopen Organize Fields and double-click on the Price tab. Notice how both total before discount and purchase price have a square around the check mark next to them. This means that each of these fields begins a new block. Remember that we want to move purchase price under currency and start the second block of fields with profit. So first, we right-click Purchase Price and then select Merge Blocks. The square disappears. Then we right-click Profit and select Split Block. The square moves to the Profit field. Click OK to see results. You can also create your own personalized tab in the form and move any fields you want to this tab. Begin by clicking on the tab icon to the right. A new tab is added to the bottom of the design window. Let's rename it My Tab and press Enter. Now, let's move any fields we want to this tab. First, we'll open the References tab, select Sales Rep, and move it to My Tab. There is another way of moving a field. Press the left button of your mouse and hold it down while dragging the field to its new location. To demonstrate it, let's click the Project tab and move all fields to My Tab. As the Project tab is no longer in use, it moves to the bottom and a red X appears next to it. Finally, let's click on the Follow-up tab and move the Status field to My Tab. Now, let's open My Tab to see the results. All that's left is to position my personal tab where I want it. I click on My Tab and then on the top arrow button, and My Tab moves to the top right after Main Columns. It will now be the first tab in my form. Click OK to see results. Note that the Project tab no longer appears. Look at the line for the Sales Rep in My Tab. Notice that it's actually made up of two parts, the Sales Rep number and the Sales Rep name. We can split the line into its parts so that the number and name appear on separate lines. In Organize Fields, click on My Tab. The line for Sales Rep has a triangle next to it. That means it includes additional data. Click on the triangle and you can see that it includes the Sales Rep name. To split the two into separate lines, right-click the Sales Rep and select Split Line. I can also merge two fields into a single line. Let's do that for project number and project description. Now let's click OK to see what My Tab looks like. Now let's see what the options are in multi-record display mode. Here there are no tabs. Rather, the fields are arranged as columns. As you scroll through them, you'll see that the customer number always remains visible thanks to the red pin that sets the pane of frozen columns. You can freeze additional columns, such as the customer name and the contact, so that they stay open as well. Simply drag the red pin to the last column you want to freeze, in our case, Contact. Now the first three form columns are frozen as you scroll through the record. There is also a simple way to rearrange columns. Drag the title of the column you want to move to the desired location. If we open Organize Fields, you can see that the changes we made are reflected here as well. The red pin is on the third column, and the date column is after the customer name. To revert back to the original design, simply click Restore Defaults. You also have the same options of hiding, renaming, and moving fields up and down, just like we saw in full record display mode. We'll end this explanation of Organize Fields feature by showing you how to rename a field. In Organize Fields, right-click on any field and select Rename. Then record the desired name and press Enter. Remember, no matter which display mode you are in, you can undo the form design for that display mode and revert back to the original form design by selecting Restore Defaults. There are also a number of options for changing the column width. When in multi-record display mode, you can't always see all the data in a given column. This is meant to allow you a view of a maximum number of columns at a time. If you want a given column to be wider in order to see its entire contents, you have a number of options. First of all, you can move the cursor to the column and press the Shift key. The column remains expanded until you move to a different column. You can also change the column width on a more permanent basis. Simply place the cursor on the edge of the column title and drag it open. Or, if you want to view more columns at a time, place the cursor on the edge of a wide column and drag it so that it becomes narrower. This definition is maintained even after you exit the form. You can also color code different groups of form records so that the system automatically changes the font color of a record when a given column receives a designated value or range of values. For example, we can use color coding to color all sales orders being handled by a particular sales rep in the color red. To do so, we'll move the cursor to the sales rep number column and press F11 to retrieve any sales orders recorded for the sales rep in question. We'll then right-click the column and select Record Color, Define Record Color. Finally, we'll select the color red and click OK. As we scroll through the other sales orders retrieved for this sales rep, we can see that they each appear in the chosen color. Note that this option can also be accessed via the upper design menu. Another option provided in this menu enables you to use color coding to distinguish between different types of form columns. Specifically, you have the option of color coding mandatory and read-only columns to distinguish them from each other and from updatable columns. Note that Highlight Mandatory Read-Only option is flagged by default. However, you can remove the checkmark if desired. Note that as a result of this change, the mandatory customer number column no longer appears in red. Once we restore the highlights, the titles of this and other mandatory form columns appear in red, while the titles of read-only columns, such as the sales rep name, appear in gray. Note that both the color coding options we've mentioned are applied regardless of the current display mode being used. Let's move on to look at the design features pertaining to this form's sublevels. Most forms have a variety of sublevel forms, some of which are more important to your work than others. Similar to form fields, you can hide and rearrange sublevel forms. Let's see how this design tool works. From the Design menu, select Organize Sublevels. All the form's sublevels appear in a list. Right-click the one that you want to hide and select the Hide command, or use the arrows to change the position of a given sublevel form. Finally, you can organize direct activations. These are programs, reports, and other forms that can be activated from within a form. The Sales Orders form has a variety of direct activations. From the Design menu, select Organize Direct Activations. Then choose what you want from the list and hide it or change its position as desired. If you find that the design options we've reviewed are grayed out in the upper design menu and you are unable to open them, we recommend that you check the permissions defined for you in the User Permissions form, accessed via the System Manager menu under System Maintenance, Users. Retrieve your user record in this form and make sure that the form and menu design options is flagged in order to ensure that you have access to these design options. The designs we've demonstrated in this video clip will affect your own work, and if you are a privileged group leader, they will also affect the form for all users in your group. Design definitions implemented by the System Manager affect all users. The System Manager can also access a number of additional design tools, including a program that can be used to copy form designs from one user or group to another, accessed via the System Management menu under Generators, Forms. Other advanced form design tools can be accessed by the System Manager via the System Management menu under System Maintenance, Advanced Design, Advanced Form Design. Detailed explanations of these tools are provided in the User Interface Guide. This concludes our explanation of form design features.